And as I teased before we went to break, our next guest is going to be Adam Schwadron. A lot of folks that listen to the radio station know who he is. He is a good friend of mine, and he wanted to come on today. He apparently has an announcement he wants to make to everybody. As a disclaimer, Adam is my friend, and he also is a client of mine. So I want to get that out. But Adam, how are you?
I'm doing well. You?
Good. Bring the microphone up to you a little bit close to you.
I've tried to adjust it.
It moves.
Yeah, but it's not made for really tall people.
Okay.
So I'll fix it.
So how we want to do this? You want to just throw it out there, or how you want to do it?
Oh, I could do that. That's not an issue.
Well, as I said, Adam Schwadron has an announcement. He wants to make it on the Mark Cox Show, and he's going to make some news for us today.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity,
Sure.
Chris. I mean, how often do you get this opportunity to broadcast not only to the entire listening audience, but also hopefully those that are out in St. Charles County?
Exactly.
Because I am running to be the next director of elections for St. Charles County.
Yeah. Can we get a?
We can.
Please clap.
Please clap. Yay!
Yeah, it's something that was brought to my attention. The current director of elections is decided to retire.
Yes.
He's been in there 4 terms. So this is his 16th year.
That's Rich Crismer.
Rich Crismer.
And Rich Crismer, I worked with his son in Jim Talent's office, so that's a well-known name in St. Charles County.
Yeah, he is an establishment there. And so early in January, he announced that he is no longer pursuing re-election. So that set off a chain reaction, you can say, where I was approached by a couple people saying, have you thought about running for this? This is perfect for you. And honestly, I had not, because no one was expecting Rich to announce that he wasn't running for re-election.
Sure.
And so thought about it, talked to a few people, including you, and then talked to my wife, Elizabeth.
Who makes the ultimate decision?
Well, you know, she is the boss.
Yes, she is. Wives are the bosses.
Happy
See,
wife,
Becky?
happy life.
Yes.
And she gave her blessing, and so here I am today, ready to kick things off.
Excellent. Well, you know, the first question that I'm going to ask you, and what the voters of St. Charles County are probably going to ask you, what makes Adam Schwadron qualified to be the next St. Charles County election director?
Well, as you know, or may not know, the director of elections is an executive level position. And I am currently a small business owner. The past 7.5 years, I've been the chief everything officer, essentially.
Right.
So managing the scheduling, making payroll, keeping up on invoices, ordering inventory, human resources, you name it. Everything under the sun I have been managing. And before that, before becoming an entrepreneur, I was an inventory manager where I managed upwards of 80 employees on inventory counts, ensuring that the count was done accurately and on time. So you can see how that kind of relates to elections.
Now, it's not a requirement for the job, of course, to have some political experience. But what is what's your experience in politics, if any?
Oh, I've been pretty active. I can actually recall the very first time that I got involved in politics. I was a student at the University of Missouri St. Louis, and I was transferring from St. Charles Community College, Merrimack. And I took a summer class.
Wait a minute, St. Charles County, Merrimack.
Or St. Louis County, excuse me. You know, I've got St. Charles on the brain
I know, that's a good thing.
So I took a summer class in political science, and at the end of it, I needed some ridiculously low score on the final to just get an A in the class. And the teacher, Professor Caliendo, he came up to me and said, "You're pretty good at this. Have you thought about pursuing a career in politics?" And no, I hadn't. And so that very first semester, the fall of 2001, I took my business classes, and I was bored.
Right.
Just absolutely bored. And so the next semester, I switched my degree to political science and took off with that. I interned in Congressman Aiken's office. I then also got an opportunity to serve as a lobbyist for the Associated Students of the University of Missouri, which represents the then 60,000 students in the UM system. And so I was down at the Capitol building lobbying on student issues, and most specifically, the Help America Vote Act.
Okay. Tell me this. Now, most people probably don't even know St. Charles County or any county has an election director. I know I used to work for St. Louis County Board of Elections, and we had a Democratic director and a Republican director. Is that the same way in St. Charles County, and what exactly does this job entail?
Well, it's slightly different because of the size of the county. The state laws and the statutes specifically outline the way a county structure is set up. Most counties have a county clerk, which is in charge of the elections. Just the way it's been structured in St. Charles County, they have the election authority. So there's the director of elections, which, as you can hear, is an elected position. But then there's also the structure underneath to have the Republican representation and the Democrat representation as the assistant directors.
Tell me what needs to be changed or improved out there at the election board, if any. What are you going to do to make it better or improve things?
Well, there's lots of different things that we could talk about here. Most specifically, I want to talk about the growth that we've seen out in western St. Charles County in the Wentzville area. I've got a few friends that moved out there, and the horror stories I heard about long waits this past November, or in 2016. Some people had to wait 3 hours just to vote. 3 hours. Yeah. To me, that is unacceptable.
So what people say, that's just democracy, so you should wait.
Well, there's a simple solution that can be done to rectify that.
Okay.
And sometimes government looks at having a solution and it ends up becoming a bigger problem.
Right.
However, this solution, it's very simple. More polling booths at the polling place.
That makes sense.
Where all you have to do is buy an extra folding table and put up a tent, and you can now have more people voting after they get checked in. Because when you're on a November ballot and you have multitudes of issues and candidates to vote on, it's going to take a little time.
Yeah, I could say, there was that debacle out there in St. Charles County during the primary. Was that 2012, right? When that happened, and at the caucus, when that was just a big disaster.
Yeah,
St. Charles got on the map.
That was fun. I was at that as well, and how that had to be dismissed. And
did that inspire you to run as election director?
That specific point would not. I cannot say would have inspired me, but just my history with being involved with campaigns and elections. I love elections.
Okay.
To me, Election Day is a Super Bowl day to me.
Adam Schwadron, is he married? Does he have children? Who is Adam Schwadron?
Well, as I already referenced, I've got my beautiful wife Elizabeth.
Yes.
And 2 gorgeous daughters, Emma and Ella. And actually, Emma is getting ready to start kindergarten next year, so we're going through the process of enrolling her at St. Charles Borromeo. Good.
What other issues are you look to improve things out there?
Well, coming up, the person that gets elected, which I hope is me, is going to have to deal with the 2020 census and the 2021 redistricting, because the director of elections is a 4-year term.
Sure.
So when you're looking at redistricting, if you pay attention to what's going on with the Supreme Court and gerrymandering all across the country,
that's a big issue.
There's a lot of issues that you can have on just a precinct level in terms, as I mentioned before, having so many people in a precinct where your vote times are so long. The director of elections is partly responsible for redistricting the townships in the county.
Got it. Okay, well, Adam, if there is a website, is there a website, or people wanting to get involved with your campaign, because you're well known out there in St. Charles, you've been an activist for a long time. If there are people want to get involved and say, I want to see him in office, what can they do?
Well, I will have my Facebook page up here after the show. It'll be facebook.com at SCC Director of Elections, SCC standing for St. Charles County. And then my webpage will be simply my first name and last name, adamschwadron.com.
Can you spell Schwadron? Because I think most people would have no clue how to spell that.
Well, it's just like squadron.
Oh, yeah, sure.
It's spelled SCHWADRON.
Well, I appreciate you coming in, my friend, and giving the big announcement. As I said, I had to give that disclaimer first, but you're a good friend of mine, and we're going to work hard, and hopefully you will be successful.
I hope so, and to all the listeners out in St. Charles County, I hope to earn your vote and would like to ask you for that opportunity to earn your vote.
And that name again?
Adam Schwadron,
Thank
for Director of Elections.
Excellent, excellent. Again, that's Adam Schwadron. He's running for Director of Elections in St. Charles County. He's got a Facebook page. He's got a web page that's coming up, adamschwadron.com. I think he's a man of integrity, and I think he's a good man for this job, and he will not let the good folks of St. Charles County down.